Hello, welcome back to the LineStar MLB DFS Slate breakdown for today, Friday, May 19th. Happy Friday, everybody. Let's jump right into it. Before we do, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to all our videos. It helps us out a ton. And if you are not already, join LineStar. $29.99 gets you all the DFS, all the props for all the sports we cover. And if you want a little promo offer, we do have a few. Just go to our pricing page on the website. You can get all those offers. Underdog, Thrive, FanDuel. If you're a new customer to any of them, you can get between 2 to 6 months free. Now, it's DFS time. We got a 12-game slate. There is no Colorado slate, no Cincinnati on it. No games in those places. So ownership is pretty spread out. There isn't one must-play spot. So let's dig in to the pitcher ownership first. We got Joe Ryan coming in at 10.3K, almost 42% owned. He leads the way. Ryan has just been great this season. So 2.09 FIP over his last 5 starts, 25% K rate. And now if we go to the 20 start numbers, 3.5 FIP and a 28.8% K rate. He has been really good. The Angels strike out 22% versus righties, but they do have a fairly high WOBA, fairly high ISO. As we know, this team is a decent offense. The other thing is that Ryan hasn't been quite as good away. He's averaging 32.8% less fantasy points while away. So take that into consideration if you want to play Ryan. He is in a good spot. His projection is high, but he isn't doing quite as well on the road as he is at home. Next, we got Blake Snell versus the Bo Sox. Decent projection, not that high, but this is a guy that we have known has some huge upside. Hasn't really shown it so far this year. His K rate over his last 5 is only at 23% versus the last 20 at 28%. Now, Boston does strike out a lot versus lefties, 25.5% K rate versus lefties. So there could be some upside in here. And versus lefties, their ISO is really low, their WOBA is really low. It looks like a pretty good spot for Snell, even though the projection isn't fully showing that. I think he could be on the higher side of his range of outcomes tonight. That is a possibility. Now we got Sandy Alcantara, 9.8K. For last year's Cy Young, is an absolute steal, and he seems to be rounding into his own a little bit. After struggling for a little, he may have had it back. 3.46 FIP over his last 5 with a 27.5% K rate. His last 20 numbers is 3.47 and 22.5. So he seems to be getting it back a little bit, even though he has had a couple rough starts. Last week, gave up 6 runs and 7.2 innings, but time before that, went 8.1, had 9 Ks, only gave up 2. I think he's coming around, and this is a decent matchup. San Francisco strikes out 24% versus righties. However, they do have a decent WOBA and decent ISO versus them, but combined K rate of 26% at 9.8K is pretty interesting. We got DeScalfini next at 20%. I don't love it. This Miami matchup versus righties here. Strikeout at 21%. Their WOBA is low. ISO is low. The reason I don't love it is just the upside. DeScalfini, 18% K rate over the last 20, but down to 14.8% over the last 5. So that scares me a little bit. We do need that K upside for DFS. However, the projection is decent at 8.7K. Next, Jake Irving, Bryce Elder. Elder's been good, but again, upside concerns there. Martin Perez is an interesting one for me. His strikeout lines on sports books is up to like 5Ks, which if he has 5Ks, he's usually in the 20 point plus range for his fantasy points. So it is interesting to me. Colorado on the road and versus lefties, they strike out at 22%. Perez is averaging 33.6% more fantasy points at home. So it's an interesting spot for me. I don't love it, but at 7.7K, if you want a value spot, he's not bad. Also going low owned here. Detmer's been interesting. Paxton versus the Padres. Paxton looked absolutely great in his first start, striking out 9. He does have some K upside. It is a tough matchup versus the Padres. So I could see you going there. I don't love it. Now, one I wanted to bring up was Yusei Kikuchi. He is the boomer bust guy. Now, this game is very interesting. Kikuchi could absolutely crush, or he could get crushed. He is, one or the other. There's not really much of a middle ground. Kevin Gosman has said Kikuchi has the best stuff on the entire roster. And this is a pitching roster that is really good, has a lot of good guys. He's just inconsistent. He can either have huge strikeout upside and be really good, or just absolutely get blown up. As you can see, 5.1 FIP over his last 5, but a 3.42 ERA. 28% K rate over his last 20 and a 5 FIP over his last 20. So if we see that strikeout upside and he's keeping, the ball in the park, it looks really well. But this Baltimore offense can crush the ball. And as you can see, his StatCast data is not pretty. Almost 40% fly balls, 37% hard hit. So I just bring this up just because I think it is a volatile spot and it could go either way. I do like the Baltimore stack, but I could see you take a little bit of Kikuchi. Now let's get into FanDuel ownership here. We got Blake Snell leading the way at 35%, Joe Ryan 26%, and Alcantara at 12%. Really like that Alcantara ownership there. And Martin Perez 7%. Only issue is I don't know if he's going to have the upside there. But like I said, I like Perez today. Strikeout lines at 5, which is a decent line here, especially at 8.4K at FanDuel. So if you want to get crazy and you want to pay up for bats, that's probably the way to go. Now let's jump in to some stacks. All right. So our highest projected owned for today is Kansas City. So Michael Kopech on the mound, and that is why Kopech leads the league in home runs per 9, 6.33 FIP. There's warm weather, decent hitting weather here. And so I get it if you want to go KC. And again, 67% projected ownership. That's nothing. Play whatever stack you want today. Ownership does not matter. But they are in a good spot. They have a lot of guys with either speed or power or a combination of both. So I really do like this stack. It's also not that expensive. Melendez is on it he was my prop bet for the day. So I like him and I like this matchup. So that one looks good. They're also decently projected owned. If we go to the highest projected, we have the Dodgers, which Steven Matz has been decent, but he does have a 5.47 ERA over his last 20, 4.7 FIP. ERA is still elevated at 5 over the last 5 and a 4.75 FIP. Meanwhile, the Dodger hitting info looks really good. A lot of barrel balls, high fantasy points per plate attempt. Split numbers look good too. So I get why the system is liking the Dodgers. Rangers are interesting. We got Carl Kaufman on the bump for the Rockies. This is a guy that has an ERA for his minors career of like 6, and now he's joining the major league. So I think you really have to like this Texas Rangers team. But it is a volatile spot because we don't have any MLB data on Karl Kauffmann to go off. We just have that he hasn't been great in the minors, and it's expected is that to continue in the majors. We got Houston Astros. Altuve is expected to be back, and this Oakland A's pitching staff is terrible. Waldichuk is more of the same. He does have a little strikeout upside, but he's not that great. Walks a lot of guys, let runners on, and that is not what you want to do against an offense like Astros, especially when a guy like Jose Altuve is coming back. So I think you got to like the Astros quite a bit here as well. Now let's go to some value stacks here. So we got White Sox, we got Oakland, we got KC. All of them I pretty much agree with. So Greinke, it's Greinke. We know he's kind of washed. He just keeps plugging away, though. The one thing with Greinke is he usually doesn't get shelled. He'll give up his 3-4 runs, whatever, but he's not doing 7-8. That is my one worry about him, which makes me lean to believe with probably only doing mini stacks with the White Sox, not full 5-man. Next, we got Oakland. Brandon Bleak is on the mound for the Astros. This is another rookie. You know, it can go either way here. The A's have been kind of a sneaky hitting team lately, so you can absolutely go there. KC, we all know what I think about KC today. Definitely like them. And ceiling-wise, we got the Braves, we got the Cardinals, who the Cardinals are really hitting right now, so watch out for that. It is Tony G on the mound, who has been very good and definitely limits runs. But Cardinals are hot, so you can always go there. Now let's check out some of the FIP numbers here. And Kopech all over that, which is no surprise. And Carlos Carrasco for the last 5. Now he's only had like 1 start or 2 starts this season. But you can always go to Cleveland. They're pretty scrappy offense. And hopefully Jose Ramirez is back. I don't really know if he is here yet or not. I haven't seen the news on that, but looks good. And let's just click the stacks here. Gotta like Houston, gotta like Texas. Toronto's a very interesting spot. Kyle Gibson can definitely get blown up. He's given a lot of hard contact. The one thing is that bullpen is pretty good. The Braves have a 4.9 implied total, but Bryce Miller has been absolutely phenomenal to start the season. So I don't know what you get there. If he does get blown up, he's likely not. The Braves are likely not to be very high owned, so it's interesting. Mets don't really love it. You can absolutely go to the White Sox, can absolutely go to the Phillies. Dodgers are interesting. St. Louis, they're hot. The one team down here I wanted to bring up was Baltimore. We went over Kikuchi a little bit in the pitching. He is boom bust. He either gets crushed or he pitches really well. He gives up a lot of home runs, so he is very interesting. A FIP of 5, 37% hard contact, high exit velocity. We know this Baltimore offense can hit the ball very well, so I think it's a really interesting spot for Baltimore. Probably not super high owned because they have a 4.4 run total opposed to a 5.4, which is Houston's. So I like it. It's very interesting, very intriguing to me, and I may go there. So that will do it for us today. Nice little wrap up of the 12-game slate. Went over the pitchers, went over all the Slack stuff. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our video, and we will be back next week. I appreciate it. Have a good one, guys. Bye.